Hey, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm Brian Manning, and this is the Asylum Answer Show where I want to answer your questions about winning asylum in the United States. I'm an asylum lawyer. I used to be an asylum officer with the government, with USCIS at the Houston Asylum Office. But now I'm a lawyer, and as an asylum lawyer, my law firm, we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. So I want to answer your questions. Let me know in the comments what questions you have. But hey, before dropping the questions, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. Love to hear where you guys are at and what's going on. So say hello and say where you're watching from. And then let me know what questions you have. What can I answer for you about winning asylum in America? Before I get to your questions, let me say a couple words. I've been getting this question a lot lately. Am I going to get deported, maybe arrested and or deported while my asylum case is pending under the second Trump administration? So listen, you've heard this, right? That Donald Trump is promising mass deportations, and they said they're going to try to deport 1 million people as soon as possible. So there's risk here, right? There's risk here that there's not risk. It's pretty much a certainty that a lot more people are going to start getting deported very quickly, very soon than what has been sort of the trend and the pace recently. All right. So understandably, people in the immigrant community are nervous about this, understandably. This question of, okay, well, what if I've got an asylum case pending? Is someone going to show up at my house, possibly knock on my door and take me and put me in detention and then maybe deport me? The answer to that, thankfully, is I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to do that. If you have an asylum case pending, whether it's with the asylum office at USCIS or if you're already in immigration court proceedings, if you have applied for asylum, I don't think that it's likely that the immigration agents from ICE, which is a part of the Department of Homeland Security, I don't think they're going to come and try to arrest you or try to put you on a plane and deport you while you have your asylum application pending. Now, I got to be completely honest with you. I was pretty concerned that the Trump administration might just ignore the laws that we have that say that, if you are expressing a fear of being harmed in your country, that you should have a chance to explain that and a chance to try to stay here based on asylum or some other forms of humanitarian relief. I was afraid they might just say, we don't care. We're not going to even pretend to respect that. Thankfully, though, I will say, Trump's border czar, this guy, Tom Homan, who used to work for ICE, for Border Patrol or CBP, Customs and Border Protection, he is now the border czar. And he said in an interview shortly after the election that, look, if someone tells us that they are afraid of being harmed in their country and they want to apply for asylum, we're going to let them apply for asylum. We're going to let them have their court hearing play out. So that's reassuring. That's, at least as of right now, it sounds like the plan is not just, hey, we're going to go deport everyone that we can that doesn't have, status here. Having an asylum application pending does not technically give you status, right? But it does, historically has shielded people from being deported. When you apply for asylum with USCIS, you know how you get what's called a receipt notice, which is a letter that says, hey, we got your application and it's pending as of X date. And this little paragraph where it says that, it also says you can remain in the United States while your case is pending. It's like you have permission to be here, even though you don't technically have legal immigration status. You have permission to stay here while your case is pending. And for decades, the policy of the Department of Homeland Security has been, you know what, let's let this person have their case heard at USCIS. Let's not put them in deportation proceedings until they've had a chance to get a decision on their case. We're not going to go arrest them, and we're going to let them finish their case at USCIS. If they get a negative decision at USCIS and they don't have some legal status, then you do get put in deportation proceedings. But even then, you're not going to be detained. Almost certainly, you're not going to be detained while those processes play out in immigration court. Rather, you remain, free, and you get to fight your case. And then if you lose at the immigration court, there's 2 levels of appeals that you can take. One is at a federal court of appeals. First, it's actually at the Board of Immigration Appeals, BIA. And then if you lose there, you can apply to a federal court of appeals. So you can keep fighting your case for years. All right. Almost certainly you can, it will take years for that process to run its course, even if you keep losing. So listen, having an asylum application pending is, I think, a way to probably decrease your chances of being arrested and being deported. Okay. If you are afraid of being harmed in your country, you should consider applying for asylum if you haven't done it yet. I do think that having that application pending is probably going to protect some people from getting arrested and or actually deported. Okay. You should never file a frivolous asylum application. I don't recommend that. But if you really are afraid of being harmed in your country, then you should talk to an asylum lawyer about whether it makes sense in your case to go ahead and apply for asylum. Like, there's a lot of people for whom this is really relevant that like have temporary protected status right now, but are probably going to lose it under the Trump administration. Trump's people are saying they're not going to renew TPS designations or status, or they're not going to renew parole that people have, the status that allows them that gives them permission to be here. And in fact, they may actually strip away the existing temporary protected status that people already have. All right. So countries like people from Ethiopia, Afghanistan, Venezuela, there's a lot of Cameroon. There's a lot of people right now with temporary protected status that are probably going to lose that. And a lot of them have not applied for asylum. And the thinking has been, I've heard this a lot from people, is like, you know what? I don't need to apply for asylum because I have my TPS. I have a work permit based on TPS. I'll just chill with my TPS. I personally don't think that's a good idea because of this exact reason that TPS can go away. They can not renew it. They could even strip it from you. So then you then you won't have legal status, which subjects you to being either put in deportation proceedings while you're not detained, or possibly them actually arresting you and holding you while you go through the deportation proceedings in court. Okay, having an asylum application pending, I believe, hopefully, will keep shielding people from getting detained and getting put in deportation proceedings, at least until they have a chance to have their claim considered by the asylum office. Okay, so what I'm saying is, if you have TPS and you're afraid of being harmed in your country and you've not applied for asylum, you should talk with an asylum lawyer about possibly applying for asylum, because that may protect you once you lose your TPS. Even if you aren't going to lose your TPS, I think it's a good idea to talk with an asylum lawyer about whether asylum makes sense for you if you're afraid of being harmed in your country. Okay. That's that. The bottom line, though, the good news is that, listen, if you got an asylum case pending, I think it's very unlikely that you're going to get arrested and possibly deported in the near future. So that's good news. A little bit of silver lining among what is otherwise pretty dreary news in the immigration world for the people that we work with, that we serve, which is asylum seekers. I'm an asylum lawyer, and that's what we do all day, every day. We love helping people secure their future in America through asylum. For those of you who just joined recently on TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, I'm Brian Manning, and I'm an asylum lawyer. My law firm is called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we're based in Texas, but it doesn't really matter because we help people all over the country. Lots of clients, of course, in Texas, but lots in California, lots in Florida, lots in New York, around Chicago, North Carolina, South Carolina, Atlanta, everywhere, all these places and everywhere in between. We help immigrants secure their future in America through asylum. If you want to talk with us about that, about your particular situation, if you're interested in possibly getting help with an asylum case, then we would love to talk to you. Right now, we're offering free consultations, a free asylum strategy session. You can book that at the website, winasylum.com. Go type in the URL, winasylum.com. That's WINASYLUM.com. That's where you can schedule an asylum strategy session with one of our asylum professionals so we can see what's going on. We want to get to know you a little bit. We want to talk about your situation. We want to talk about your case. We want to see if we think that we're in a position to possibly help you increase your chances for asylum success. If we think that we are, we'll tell you exactly how we'll do that. We'll explain to you what the asylum action plan is, which is something that we do. It's sort of our framework that we use for helping our clients present the strongest case possible. We'll tell you what our exact asylum action plan would be in your specific case, go to winasylum.com to schedule that. WINASYLUM.com. All right, let's get to the comments and questions. Mr. Monique says, good greetings from Turkey. Hello from Turkey. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Ahmad says, please bring me up. Ahmad, do you have a question? What's your question? Sidi Ali says, hello. How are you doing? My man Badru says, hello from Massachusetts. Mr. Brian, you are the best lawyer so far. Thanks for your great work. Appreciate it, Badru. I can always count on Badru for a nice comment on these. He's not getting paid for this, folks. Badru is fine with me saying that he is a client whom we helped. Badru was waiting for a long time for his interview, finally got sick of it and decided to sue the government in what is called a Mandamus lawsuit, or an asylum delay lawsuit, we can call it. That worked for Badru. He got his interview through this lawsuit, and we helped him win his case. He won asylum, all right? You should know, if you've been waiting for multiple years for your interview, this is the time to take action. The longer that Trump is in office, I think the harder it's going to become to win asylum. The anti-immigrant and anti-asylum policies, procedures that he's going to put in place, it's going to take a little bit of time for some of those to be implemented and reach maximum efficiency. Also, just the general anti-immigrant atmosphere that's going to be coming with him will take some time to really take hold. So the sooner that you can get your case considered and get a decision, the better. Now is the time to act. The sooner the better. If you've been waiting for multiple years, do what Badru did, sue the government in a mandamus lawsuit. We are really motivated to incentivize people to do this now before things get worse with Trump. And so we're actually offering a discount, a year-end discount through the end of this year, through the end of 2024. We're offering $500 off just for this particular case, just for this mandamus lawsuit, this asylum delay lawsuit, not for any other case types, just for this lawsuit. So if you've been thinking, I'm ready to move my case forward, then now is the time, both because of the Trump factor. And if you want to take advantage of this $500 discount that we're offering on this service, go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com to schedule this consultation. I'm going to put that in the chat. Free consultation, winasylum.com. Oops, put it on two different lines. All right, let's see who we got. What questions do we have? All right. Very nice. Hey, on TikTok, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, if you want my best stuff, if you want to see lots of free trainings, tutorials, very detailed tutorials, and news updates around asylum and immigration, go to YouTube. All right, YouTube's where I've got all my best stuff. Go to YouTube and search for Political Asylum Lawyers. That's the name of my law firm, and it's the name of our YouTube channel, Political Asylum Lawyers. That's where you can find all of my best stuff. All right, let's see who we got and what questions we got. Saeed says, first and foremost, can Trump deport people who were granted asylum already and waiting for their green card? Good question. Let's address that. So the question is this. Is it likely that Donald Trump will deport people who've already won asylum and now they're waiting for their green card? I don't think so. I think it's very unlikely that Trump will try to do that. All right. Unless the person has committed a crime that makes the administration think that they're a danger to society, then yeah. But that's true under Biden as well, really. So, and every president. But no, I don't think you're at real risk if you've won asylum. I don't think you're at real risk of the government coming for you and trying to deport you. But let me say this: you got to be careful when you do your green card application, and if you end up having an interview. Because at that stage, the officers do very carefully review your whole case file. And sometimes they see something that they think looks like an inconsistency, compared to your asylum process. And when that happens, they can try to take away your asylum status and then put you in deportation proceedings. It happens frequently. So you got to be careful and you got to do your green card processing really carefully and really well. Okay. Thanks for the question, Saeed. All right. I came to the USA on December 25th undocumented. I've applied for the asylum in January, Houston, Texas. They've asked me for an interview at an immigration office in Houston. After a few months, I applied. Oye. So did you already have your interview at the asylum office? or did you come to the, yeah, I'm not sure do you have a question? Let me know. Oh yeah. What's your question? And I'll try to address it like that. We've got Ruby says, hello, I'm present watching your channel from Palm Desert, California on YouTube. Nice. Palm Desert. Cool. I love California, and we have a lot of clients there. We've had a lot of success with clients, especially, we have them all over California, but especially up north, we have a lot of clients around San Francisco and like Sacramento. Can someone who crossed the Mexican border without using CBP1 get a green card legally, even if the judge approves the case? People who passed after 11th May 2023. Let's address it like this. Thanks for the question. Let's do it like this. Is it possible to win your asylum case and get a green card eventually if you came to the U.S. southern border after March 11th, 2023, and you didn't have a visa and you didn't use a CBP1 application to schedule an appointment? Is it possible to win your case and get a green card? Listen, this is, the Biden administration is tried to make it basically impossible for people who came outside of the CBP1 app to get asylum. It's effectively an asylum ban, but there are some exceptions to that. All right. And if you convince the judge that you qualify for an exception, then yes, they can give you asylum. All right. We've seen it happen. People have gotten it. It's hard. It's very hard to win asylum under this circumstance. The good news is that even if you don't win asylum, you can still win something called withholding of removal if the judge is convinced that you're in real danger. Okay. So don't give up. You might still be able to win. And if the judge grants you asylum, then yeah, you can get the green card later based on the asylum status. Okay. Hope that helps. Okay. Oye says they forwarded it to the judge. So it sounds from what you said, like maybe you had an asylum interview and your case got referred or like transferred to the immigration court. Okay. What's your question, Oye? Let me know what the question is. Liban says, I'm a TPS holder from Somalia. Will Trump end TPS for Somalis? Good question. Let's do it like this. So here's the question. Is Trump going to end TPS, temporary protected status? And if so, what does that mean for people who have it right now? So listen, there's lots of people here with temporary protected status, which provides legal status, and it provides a work permit. You can get a work permit based on it, right? So it's super important for people. There's people from Somalia, Afghanistan, Ukraine, Ethiopia, Venezuela, Cameroon. There's lots of countries, right, with TPS. And there's all those that I listed have gotten it pretty recently, but there's a bunch of more that have had it for some of them for many years. Yeah, Trump has said they're going to end it, that they're not going to renew it for people, and that they might even take away the current TPS status that people already have. You could get deported, especially if you don't have any asylum case pending. You might be placed in deportation proceedings once they take away that TPS status. So having an asylum case pending, a claim like with USCIS or the court, will probably keep you from being deported or placed in deportation proceedings if you're not there already. Okay. So the point is, there's no guarantee, but if you're afraid of being harmed in your country, then it may make sense to file an asylum application if you haven't done so yet. Because it may help protect you from getting put into deportation proceedings if you're not there already. And it may provide a means for you to actually win asylum, or to win withholding of removal or protection under the Convention Against Torture, which are these other forms of relief if the judge is convinced that you are at real risk in your country and you meet certain qualifications, but you don't meet the asylum requirements due to like certain technical reasons, more or less. All right. So thanks for the question. All right. We've got Albert watching from the England. Nice. Now, you got to remember, Albert and who was that was in Turkey. I'm a U.S. asylum lawyer. What I'm talking about today is for the United States. Most countries have fairly similar laws for asylum because they're all based off of, most of them are based off of a international like convention that we're all part of. But every country is different. So know that I'm talking today about U.S. asylum law. Okay. You should consult with an asylum lawyer. If you want immigration advice, you should consult with an asylum lawyer in the country that you're in, including those of you in the U.S. If you want actual advice, what I'm telling you today is it's informational, educational, and hopefully a little bit entertaining. But if you want advice about your particular situation, like you need to talk with an asylum lawyer one-on-one about, or an asylum professional one-on-one about your case. Okay. We're offering free consultations right now. If you want to connect with us, go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. That's where you can schedule an asylum strategy session with one of our asylum professionals. Okay. Sardis says, hi Brian, I'm looking to you, watching from Sacramento. Nice. Yeah, we have lots of clients in Sacramento. I want to do the Mandamus lawsuit, but I just have 1.5 years with my asylum. Thanks for all the information. You're very professional. Thank you. Yeah. So let me address this in the form of a question. All right. The question is this: at what stage can you file a Mandamus lawsuit to force your asylum interview? Right. So the idea with this asylum delay lawsuit, this Mandamus lawsuit, is that when the delay in your case has been unreasonable, you can file a lawsuit that's asking a federal judge to tell the asylum office, hey, this delay is not reasonable. It's not acceptable. You got to do your job. Give the person their interview and the decision. Then the question is, what is an unreasonable delay? Right now, for us, we're saying 3 years. If you applied 3 years or more ago, we think that you're in a good position to force your interview through this Mandamus lawsuit. We've had tons of success with it. We filed over 100 of them in the last year and a half, maybe, and we haven't lost one yet. Past performance does not guarantee future results, okay? I can't promise you, I can't guarantee, I can't even predict that like we would win if you hired us to do it, but it's been working so far. Los Angeles Asylum Office, 5 years, okay? 5 years waiting. Everywhere else, 3. Go to winasylum.com if you want to discuss, all right? Winasylum.com. Listen, you said you're waiting for 1.5 years. No, I don't think it'll probably work. If you file it, the government will... And if you have a lawyer that tries to negotiate with the government, they probably will not agree to give you your interview. They'll want to fight it out to the end in court. That'll probably take a year or so to fight that battle, and you'll probably lose because 1.5 years is probably not going to be considered an unreasonable delay. Okay. We say 3 years everywhere except the Los Angeles Asylum Office for cases there. Right now, we're saying we're only taking cases where the person's been waiting 5 years or more in Los Angeles. Okay. Okay, Oye says, it's been almost 3 years. My master hearing is postponed 3 times. My case is in Houston, Texas. Should I move to any other state like Mississippi or stay in Texas? Why would you want to move to Mississippi? Do you mean to try to get a better approval rate? So yeah, let's do this. Let's address the question like this. The question is this. Does it make sense possibly to move to another state to try to take advantage of higher approval rates in that other state in your asylum case? So listen, it's definitely true that there are certain cities and states where the asylum approval rates are higher at like the asylum office and an immigration court. And if you move from one place to another, you might be able to have your case transferred to that new place. In the affirmative asylum context, it happens automatically. If you move from the jurisdiction of one asylum office to the other and you do the change of address form, you don't have any choice. The case automatically gets transferred. Immigration court, the case stays at the old court unless and until you ask the judge, you make a motion to transfer it, and the judge has to agree. Usually they do unless you make that, usually they agree unless you make that request at like the last minute, a month or 2 or 3 before the individual hearing. Does it make sense to move to a place with a higher approval rate? Yeah. If you can do it, if it fits with your life, I think it does. I think it does. I don't think there's anything unethical about it or wrong or illegal or anything that's going to be damaging to your case. You have to actually move. You have to. You should not lie about it. You shouldn't. That would be immigration fraud. If you just use some address, your friend's address or whatever in San Francisco because you know they have high approval rates there, but you live in Houston, that's not good. You should not do that. That would be immigration fraud. Don't do that. But if you're willing to actually legitimately move, yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it can make sense. If you've got an opportunity or whatever in your life, it makes sense to be able to move. Yeah, I sure, if you're willing to move from, like, let's say Miami, where the approval rates are very low, both at the asylum office and the immigration court, to San Francisco, where the approval rates are high, both at the asylum office and immigration court, yeah, I think it makes sense to consider seriously doing that. Okay. But listen, and the question, oh yeah, you said like Mississippi. No, Mississippi's not going to do you any favors. If you're trying to take advantage of a high approval rate, you want to go to, well, you can look this up, right? Like if you're in immigration court proceedings, right? New York has high approvals for immigration court, not for the asylum office. New York is weird. In the immigration court, high approval. Asylum office in New York, low approval. It's the only city, I'm pretty sure, that's like that, where there's a big disconnect between the asylum office and the immigration court. Albert says, do you work with clients from the UK as well? Nope. Unfortunately, we don't, just in the US. Documents, Nirvana says, what documents do you need to provide along with the Form I-589? Good question. So the question is this. What documents do you need to submit along with your asylum application form I-589? So listen, you don't have to submit anything other than you have to convince them of your identity. So you should submit, if you have a copy of like your passport data page, that's good to show your identity. If you have a copy of your I-94, if you came into the country like with a visa legally, do that as well. That's all that we submit at the asylum office. Unless if the person is married or has children and they're including those people in their case as dependents, you also need to submit proof of the qualifying relationship, which is to say a marriage certificate for a spouse and birth certificate for a child. That's what we submit to the asylum office. That's all we submit. Later, we do another filing that is all of the documents supporting the case: declaration, evidence, and legal brief, and supporting country conditions information. But to apply, that's really all you need are those basic things. In immigration court, really all you need is the asylum application form. That's to have to have an asylum claim on file pending. You don't even need to really supply the identity document or proof of like your entry or anything related to your entry or the notice to appear. Just the application form itself is okay for immigration court. Okay. That's that. Thanks for asking. All right. Santiago says, if I'm in an affirmative asylum case pending and I get married to a U.S. citizen, well, can I get my status and get my green card? The question is this. So what happens if you've got an asylum case pending with the asylum office with USCIS, but you get married to a U.S. citizen? Can you get your green card, your status through that citizen? The answer is yeah, you should be able to get a green card through your spouse, your U.S. citizen spouse. They should start the process to apply for you to get the green card through them. But and once you get that green card, then it's okay to abandon or not to withdraw your asylum claim, to close it, to say, I don't want asylum, I'm withdrawing my claim. But you should not do that unless and until you get that marriage-based green card in your hand. People sometimes make the huge mistake of saying, oh, well, I got married to the citizen, so I don't need my asylum case. I'm going to withdraw my asylum case before they get the green card based on marriage. Don't do that. You never know what could happen. You might get divorced and then it's impossible. Or you might apply and you get rejected because they think it's fraud. They think it's a fake marriage for immigration benefits. So don't withdraw the claim, asylum, until you get the green card in your hand. Okay? That's that. Thanks for asking the question. Is it common that the judge or the court could really try to examine whether I really live in the city where I applied the asylum from, or they don't care or really question it? So here's the question. Is the immigration judge or the people from the court or maybe the prosecutors from ICE, are they really going to look into where you live to see if you in fact live where you said you lived when you applied for asylum? Or when you told the government that you were living that ended up leading to them assigning you to like a certain court? Are they going to actually try and look into that and figure it out? Well, listen, the question that was asked makes it sound like maybe you're considering lying about it. I wouldn't do that. Don't lie. Hey, listen, honesty is the best policy. I encourage you to be completely honest, open, and transparent. Don't lie about this. It's the right thing to do. But also, yeah, actually, they might. They might actually look into it. Sometimes the government does find out things like this. It's more likely that the prosecutors would find this out and alert the judge to it. And that's going to look really bad on you. It's going to make it really hard to win your asylum case. Don't lie. Don't be dishonest. Just if you want to move and tell the court about it, but be honest. Okay? All right. Alpha says, what about check-ins? Alpha Berry says, what about check-ins with ICE? Are you asking whether you might be detained at an ICE check-in? Good question. The question is this. Is it likely or possible that you could be detained when you have to go to an ICE check-in? So listen, some people that are released from immigration detention have to do these check-ins where the ICE says, every so often, every month or whatever, you have to come into the ICE office and check in with us. And there's a lot of concern now with Trump coming back into power that when people show up for their ICE check-ins, they might be like detained and like held in detention again and get deported. At the time that we're doing this live, this Asylum Answer show, I'm pretty optimistic that that's not going to happen, that they're not going to just start mass arresting people at those and detaining them and deporting them. I'm pretty confident. I can't say I'm super, super confident that you'll be okay, but I'm pretty confident. I think you should not worry about it for now. You do need to do the check-in. If you don't do the check-in, that's going to be worse for you. Do the check-in and good luck. Okay. So Carmina says, if you have humanitarian parole, do you need to apply for asylum during your first year, or is it just before your parole expires? Good question. The question is this. So what happens if you have if you're allowed into the country on parole, right? And your parole says you have permission to stay, you have parole until X date. It has a deadline, right? Do you still need to apply for asylum during your first year in the United States? Or is it just okay if you apply before the deadline listed in your parole document? You should apply during your first year. That's my recommendation. But listen, if you don't, then you will qualify for the exception, the extraordinary circumstances exception called maintenance of status, if you apply while your parole is still valid. So let's say your parole is valid for 2 years and you've been here for 1.5 years and you apply while your parole is still valid, you'll be okay with regard to the 1-year filing deadline because you will qualify for the extraordinary circumstances exception called maintenance of status. But listen, it's better to do it during your first year. Just do it during your first year if that hasn't passed yet. All right? All right. Marcos, Dominican Republic. Marcos, tenemos un canal de YouTube en español. Asilo Aprobado se llama. Busque Asilo Aprobado on YouTube. What was your approval? Good question. Shazad Khan says, what was your approval rate when you were an asylum officer? Good question. Yeah. So the question is, what was my approval rate when I was an asylum officer? So I worked at the Houston Asylum Office with USCIS. And I had the second highest approval rate while I was there. There was one woman who had a higher approval rate than me, and she approved like everything. I don't remember what the number was, but I think I was probably like, 75% approval rate or something. When the office average was something at that time, like in the 40s, I think. And I was probably like 75% or something. I was way higher than the office average. But listen, over time, I felt like there was increasingly pressure to deny more people. And that's one of the reasons I got sick of working there. And one of the reasons that I decided I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be in this atmosphere. It was during the Trump administration, by the way. I did not want to be in this atmosphere where you're expected to just deny more and more people. It's one of the reasons I quit. And I started my law firm so that I could advocate for people, for deserving people, to help them secure their future in America through asylum, using what I learned at the asylum office to give them the best chance possible to win. Okay. Whoa. Hey, Mr. Brian, after happy, what is that? Alexander Atencio says, my English isn't very good. Alexander, tenemos un canal de YouTube en español. Busquen en YouTube Asilo Aprobado. Asilo Aprobado. All right. Starts like this, says, I've been waiting 8 years for I assume you mean for your asylum interview with USCIS. Every 2 years, I renew my work authorization and driver's license. All my info is up to date. Well, the good news is now it's 5 years. Trump might change it back to 2 years, but we'll see. So the question, I have a comment for you, starts like this. So here's the question. What can you do if you've been waiting multiple years for your asylum interview with USCIS? Listen, this person's been waiting 8 years for their asylum interview. You are in an excellent position to force your interview by way of an asylum delay lawsuit. It's called a Mandamus lawsuit, where you're asking a federal judge to tell USCIS to do its job. They have to give you, if the judge agrees with you, USCIS has to give you your interview and your decision quickly. It's a beautiful tool. We've been using it a ton recently. It's super powerful. Listen, past performance does not guarantee any future results, but I can tell you we haven't lost one of these yet. We filed over 100 of these in the last, I don't know, maybe year and a half or so, and we haven't lost one yet. I can't guarantee that that we would win yours, but it's been really successful so far. If you want to learn about this, go to winasylum.com and schedule a consultation. Okay. 8 years. Listen, 8 years starts like this. You have a very good chance for success with this Mandamus lawsuit at 8 years. Okay. All right. Fatuma says, for those who entered through the border in April 2024 and applied for asylum, are they at risk of deportation with this current administration? I mean, everyone is, but listen, asylum is hard to win no matter who the president is. Under Trump, yeah, it's going to be even harder. But just the mere fact that you came out to the border, in April 2024, does that make you at like more risk than other people? No. So we've got Mr. Brian, after applying and getting rejected by USCIS, if we change the state and go to New York immigration court jurisdiction, is it possible for our asylum to be seen in the New York court? Good question. Let's do it like this. The question is this. If your asylum case gets effectively denied by USCIS, they refer you to immigration court in one state where you used to live. Can you move and have your immigration case transferred from that old court, from the court in your old state, to your new court? Or are you kind of stuck like with the old court, wherever USCIS transferred your case to when they referred your case to court? Are you stuck there? Or can you get it transferred to a new state that you've moved to? You can get it transferred. Normally, you have to ask the judge in the old court where your case currently is. You have to do what's called a motion to change venue, where it's like a transfer where you're saying, hey, look, I moved, and you provide the change of address form to the court that you're supposed to do anytime you move, along with a motion to change venue, and say, judge, I live over here now. Can we transfer the case to this new court? And they'll likely say yes, unless you ask like very soon before an individual hearing. They'll probably say yes. All right. It doesn't matter that your case, was referred from an asylum office to immigration court. That doesn't have any special significance or impact on this question. All right. All right. All right. Carla says, I need assistance regarding asylum based on future persecution. Carla, we should talk. I want you to talk with someone from my team. Go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. Go to winasylum.com. I'm going to put this in the chat, consultation. Winasylum.com. That's where you should go to schedule a consultation. By the way, listen, for anyone who's been waiting for their asylum interview for multiple years, if you're sick of waiting and you want to push it forward, which I think now is the time to do that, given Trump. In general, I think even not counting Trump, just like in general, it is advisable to try to push your asylum case forward as quickly as possible, in my opinion, normally. Okay. But if you've been waiting for multiple years for your interview, now is the time to act. And we're offering a discount through the end of the year on our Mandamus service. This is the lawsuit where we sue the government to force them to give you your interview. We're offering $500 off that service. And that whole $500 gets applied to the initial payment. So it makes your initial payment much cheaper. $500 discount just through the end of the year. I'm not going to extend it. It's not going to exist come January 1st. So if you want to get our help with this, we should talk now. Go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. All right. All right. I'm going to leave it there. Hope everyone's having a good weekend so far. I'm Brian Manning. Again, my law firm is in Texas, but we help people all over the country. It doesn't matter where you live. Tons of clients in California, Florida, New York, around Atlanta, around Chicago, North Carolina, South Carolina, of course, Texas, all over Texas, Colorado, lots in Denver. So listen, go to winasylum.com if you want some help, okay? Or you want to just see if we might be in a position to help you. We want to analyze your situation. We want to talk about what's going on and get to understand your situation and tell you whether we think that we're in a position to help you, okay? All right, we want to talk. Go to winasylum.com to do that. Listen, it's a pleasure, as always. It's truly an honor to support you in your asylum journey. I'm Brian Manning, and we're going to be live again soon on the Asylum Answers Show. Until that time, stay safe, be well, and thank you for being here. I look forward to talking with you next time.